You are now listening to Empowered. I'll be your host, JB Hawkins. On this podcast, we explore the journey of personal growth and empowerment through life's challenges. Join me and my guests as we share stories of overcoming adversity and offer tools for living an authentic and impactful life. Tune in each week for inspiration on your journey to empowerment. I hope you enjoy the show. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon for wherever you're watching this from. Welcome to episode 7 of Empowered with Micah Mruwat. Micah has been a great friend of mine for almost 2 years now, and she is a powerhouse real estate agent. Micah has been in real estate for about 13 years. But before that, she already had her hand in the industry as a second generation real estate investor. She is also the former managing broker of EXP Oklahoma, where she saw the vision way before any of us did. And she was one of the original EXP agents in Oklahoma. She is a mom of 2 boys who I love so much. And her husband are real estate agents. They're a power couple. They have agents all over the United States in about 5 different countries. She's also a 1%, the top 1% influencer within our company. And she actually she was this year's Humanitarian of the Year, won the award at EXP Realty. So Micah, that's a long list. I'm so happy to have you here and consider you a friend and my mentor.
Thank you. Likewise. The honor's all mine. So that was quite the introduction.
I know, it's so much. I was like, I got to fit all this in because, we've known each other for about 1.5 years now, and you're so influential in my life. And I know in a lot of other agents and just people's lives. I mean, I've always admired your mindset and the things that you and Hamudi do for everybody around you. So I'm very thankful to know you.
Well, thank you. Likewise. And as you know, it's a work in progress, right? Every single day. So try to sharpen that mind just a little bit more.
That's right. That's right. Well, I wanted to bring you on here today because I want to talk a little bit about the things that you do in your daily routine. You and I've been fortunate enough to have private conversations with you about your mindset and about some leadership skills that you've learned along the way. So let's just kind of get into it and let's get started.
Yeah.
So, with all those accolades, you've been a broker, you've been an investor, you are a great influencer within our company. What would you say that your secret to all that success has been?
Whew, that's a tough one, to be honest with you. And I'll be fully transparent because I want anyone that's watching this that was in my same shoes to really understand what it takes. And for a long time, I was asked this question, right? What is the secret sauce, from real estate, production to investments to being a mom. Now I homeschool my kids. There's probably some gray hairs going on right now. What is it? What does it take? And for the longest time, JB, honestly, I couldn't answer this question until I read, which I think you have read this as well, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy.
That is my heart right there.
I think
yes.
Talked about this before.
Yes.
And so really, once I read The Compound Effect, it's like we went from A to Z. And of course, we're still a work in progress. We're not even done yet. But I couldn't pinpoint on one certain thing. And what happens is when you read The Compound Effect, it's not one thing. And you're not an overnight success, even though it may appear that way. It's little things that you do every single day to move the needle forward that compound over time. And that's why I think for almost a decade, I couldn't even answer that question.
Yeah.
So I do firmly believe that the secret sauce to success, and this is going to be controversial. A lot of people don't like to hear this answer, is going to be your own mind. It's your mindset. And so I think back in, I want to say it was 2019, Moody and I spent over 6 figures in training and, doing Tony Robbins business mastery and Unleash the Power Within and John Maxwell and Darren Hardy and you name it. Right. And
Yes.
that's really where I think we started to evolve, not just, professionally, but also personally as well, and really take ourselves to that next level.
Yeah. You talk about, first of all, the compound effect. I have to tell you that a mentor back in 2009 gave me that book, and it radically changed my life. That was the start of my personal growth journey. And anybody who's listening to this, if you've not read the book, go get it. It's amazing. I've probably read it 10 times since I first read it in 2009.
Wow.
So it was incredible. And then also I wanted you to talk a little bit about some of the strategies or, some of your takeaways from that year of 2019. I know we've talked about you went to the Tony Robbins conference. You spent a couple days there. So can you kind of recall any takeaways that you have or that you had?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of times, and this is just human nature, right? We tend to focus on strategy, the how to, how do you do this? How do you do this? How do you do this? And one of the things that Tony Robbins taught us is strategy is 20%. It's 80% psychology and energy. And so, what Hamudi and I really started doing, and so one of the reasons why we actually relocated to Puerto Rico was we wanted to be surrounded with those top influencers and really identifying those characteristics, the personality traits, their mindset, how they acted every single day. And, understand there's no secret to why they're successful. And it's
Right.
really back to their psychology, their mindset, their energy, the way they make people feel, how they treat people, their integrity. And so just understanding that you don't want to focus just on the strategy, that it's more, looking in the mirror, identifying yourself. I'm not saying go change your personality by any means. We all have different personalities. Everybody knows that Hamudi's more the fun one in the relationship.
Yeah.
But it's also watching what other influencers are doing, and then how can I take that back and adapt that to my life?
I love that. If I've been to one of your masterminds in Puerto Rico, and what I loved, and if you guys are ever lucky enough to get to go to one of Micah and Hamudi's masterminds, the very first thing that they have you do when the conference starts is stand up and move your arms to some fun song. Their son Salim is a DJ, so that's handy. But it gets that energy up in the room before we even get started on learning the strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So I've learned a lot of good little nuggets from you just in a very short amount of time. So we started implementing that in our team meeting.
I love that. And I would actually encourage you, we implement it in our home, right? If our energy is down or, we need to go make calls or we have a busy day, turn on, I'm not going to say Alexa because she might,
You might turn on right now.
Right. And just try to get your energy up. Because again, it's all about that energy. So, whether it be prospecting for new agent partners or prospecting for buyers or sellers, if you've got a low energy and it's, it's received that you don't want to be doing it, then you're probably not going to have the best of conversion. So definitely, make sure you're in that right zone, if you will, before you
get in the zone.
Get in the
so
zone.
Important. Yeah. So, Micah, I mean, you've been an investor. You have a beautiful, huge, lovely organization with EXP that I'm a part of, and I absolutely love that part of my life. But if you had to write a chapter of your life, you've accomplished a lot. What would you call it?
This one's easy for me, actually. So I would call it Meeting of the Minds. And I do have a couple ebooks that are out, and that is one of the chapters. And that's really because Hamudi and I mentioned Hamudi, my husband, because he's a huge part of my success. We definitely do this completely together. And so one of the things that I've been able to attribute our success to is, JB, this, faithfully every single day, we sit down for 1 hour uninterrupted. Our kids, phones on silent, no social media, no checking emails. Our kids even know not to interrupt. And this is really our time to make sure that we stay on track. So, a lot of real estate agents or just entrepreneurs in general, they check their goals, maybe annually. If you're lucky, maybe quarterly, very few monthly, but we actually revisit our goals every single day. And then more importantly, hold each other accountable, because I think although it's great to have an accountability partner, nobody's going to care about us and our family more than us. That's just the reality, right?
Absolutely.
That's human nature. So I can't rely on anybody else to hold me accountable other than myself and, of course, my life partners. So
I love that.
meeting of the minds has been huge. If you have a partner, family member, accountability partner, what have you, I definitely recommend it. Even if it's not for an hour, sit down for 15 minutes and look at your goals. And then at the end of the day, see if you were able to accomplish those goals. And then if not, where did you get derailed? Our goal is to accomplish something every single day. Some days are bigger than others, right?
Yes.
JB, you have a very large purchase going on Friday. That's huge, right? So some days are bigger wins than others. But if you just push that needle forward a little bit every single day, that's where it's going to compound.
And I'll tell you that, when I met you guys, I think I was definitely the agent, the person who would write my goals down, and I was very goal oriented, but I'm looking at them, I would say once a month, maybe once every 2 months. Since meeting you and kind of getting to be in that conversation more often, I have a meeting of minds with myself.
And that's okay.
Rest on board. But every morning, I mean, that time I did a podcast on it a couple months ago, where that time to me is so important that and I did this in 2021. I looked at my goals almost every single day. I tried to move the needle. What can I do today to work towards accomplishing one of those goals?
Right.
And I learned that from you guys. I mean, when I very first met you in April of 2022 or 21, you guys had talked about the meeting in the mind. So I think it is so important to be able to revisit those goals. And I'll tell you, my goals that I set in 2021 and being able to look at them more often and be more intentional, I accomplished everything but one.
And
it makes a difference. Just go do it.
Right.
So I learned that from you. And that was a huge lesson.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that, because really, I can't even take credit. This is something that Hamudi had witnessed his parents doing. They used to be home builders in Israel. And so it's just something that naturally we started doing from day one when we got married, actually 15 years yesterday.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. And we didn't realize at the time how big of an impact that it would have. And then over time, that's really where it's sacred. And I think if everyone could do it, even like you said, JB, even if it's with yourself.
Yes. With myself.
I think a lot of times, we look at other people that are successful and we're like, oh, I can't do it. And people just want to skip from A to Z and skip all the other letters in between. And you can't do that. Just look at what other people are doing, implement it in your life, both personally and professionally, make sure that's in alignment, and you will win. It's not because anybody's smarter. It's not because anybody works harder, but you have to do what successful people are doing.
Well, I think a lot of, and I've got friends that do this, and I certainly did this for a very long time, is we are overwhelmed and we're so busy working in the business,
right,
doing the things that we never take a step back and work on our business, work on ourselves. I'm a firm believer, in my personal development journey, that when you work on this, everything else just kind of falls into place. But you got to work on this first.
I couldn't agree more. And to be honest with you, a top producer told this to me about 3 years ago. Huge producer, probably number 2 in her state. And she said, Micah, you know the difference between you and I? And I said, what? She said, you take time to think. And that's why you are where you are. Whereas she's just grinding. How many homes can you get under contract? Mm-hmm. Which is great. But if you're not pushing forward, if you don't change anything, then nothing changes. So
yeah, I love that. And I think there's a lot of agents that can relate to that. that not taking the time to think.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, you're always going, going, going. I think it's very important to create margin. You have to have margin in your life. Otherwise, you're never able to ponder or think or, go through the things that you need to move forward.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, if you don't change anything, nothing changes. So
I love it.
you're going to be doing the same thing 12, 24 months from now.
36. Yeah.
I was going to keep
10 years from now. Yeah, for sure.
You get the idea.
Yes, I do. So, Micah, what are some of the practices that you and Hamudi have done that have given you exponential growth?
That really goes back, like I said, meeting of the minds, holding each other accountable. Like I mentioned, I'm a firm believer that nobody's going to care about the success of our family more than ourselves. And, another thing is as you've seen, we get our kids even involved in our business. So I think one of the biggest mistakes that I find is a lot of people will have goals as far as personal goals or professional goals. But what they don't do is have personal and professional. And then more importantly, they don't make sure that they're in alignment. Right.
A very good
when they're
point.
not in alignment, that's when it starts to clash. And to be honest, I can look at somebody that might be struggling in their business, and this is not across the board. I'm just giving an example.
Sure.
And then I can look at their home life and then start to understand why they're in the situation that they're in. Right.
Yeah.
And, we all go through things. We go through difficult things. I think for us, one of the most challenging times in our life is after our youngest son was born. Which is a brilliant kid, love him to death. But he did have medical challenges after he was born. And instead of taking a step back and just being like, oh, poor me, I've got to deal with this. I got to go to 6 therapies every single week. Hamudi and I said, it's now or never. Right. So it's this, we use that as a motivating factor. So again, it just goes back to mindset. How do you look at things? Some people may look at the market shift right now and say, oh my gosh, I need to get out of the industry. I can't compete. While other people may look at the market shift as an opportunity. So again, it's all in the lens of how you're looking at things, how you really react to things that are within your control. I don't even pay attention to things that are out of my control. You could tell me and this is sad coming from somebody that has a broadcasting degree, but I don't even watch the news. I don't pay attention to anything that is out of my control. I'm like in a little box. You could tell me something was going on right now and I probably wouldn't even know. Because I literally live in a little box and I focus on things that I can control. Because otherwise that's where I'm going to be able to hit my goals and my family goals.
And I kind of feel like that's a common kind of thing with people that are, really have taken personal development seriously is a lot of the people that I know, a lot of the leaders that I know aren't watching the news, to me, that's also goes back to mindset. Because when you're putting all that stuff in your mind, it creates fear and worry and this, like you said, just look at what's in front of you on what you can control.
Right.
So I kind of see that across
don't help the world, of course, go out and do your part and things like that. But for the most part, I can't be worrying out of, things that I shouldn't be worrying about.
Yeah. I totally get that. Well, so interesting fact about you, Micah. I want you to go into this a little bit. You do have a background in broadcasting, and we were talking this morning and just kind of share a little bit because I did not know this about you. I think it is super cool.
Well, I appreciate it. So yeah, I actually, in high school, my best friend kind of tricked me into getting into theater, which I was an introvert. She was like, get into theater. It's an easy class. By the way, if anybody's watching this, that is Paige. So you can go thank her. And she's like, you won't have to do anything. First weekend, they're like, stand up and do a monologue. And I almost killed her at that. No, I was like, you said I didn't have to do anything. So she comes from a family that's all in theater. So, I started getting really interested into theater, and that really got me comfortable as an introvert, to get in front of people. This is definitely a work in progress. I mean, I was actually at a party last week where I didn't know anybody, and my introvertness started
Yes.
coming in. So it's definitely out of my comfort zone.
Yes.
This does not come natural. Um, but I started to realize, theater was not something that was going to really impact the world the way I wanted to. So when I got into college, I got it, or after high school, I started focusing on broadcasting and really fell in love with it. And I was able to be the first Oklahoma recipient of a scholarship. It was called the Emma Bowen L. Bowen Foundation. And they would actually have all of us go, students from all over the country go every single summer and work in New York. And, we were working under people like Hoda Kotb and Lisa Ling and
That is
so many others. I think I had lunch with like the VP of the New York Times. Started out with Giovanna Benitez, who's now on Good Morning America, and so many others. And that was just
yes.
such a great experience that it really pushed me to grow up very quickly. Because right out of the bat at 17 years old out of high school, I was working with adults. I started out in Oklahoma City at KAUT, and then went over to KFOR, which is the NBC affiliate. And I was there for 4 years until I transitioned into real estate. So I very much attribute a lot of what I've done into real estate in that 4-year experience.
I love it. Well, I did not know that about you. I think it's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Sometimes I watch some of my old videos and I'm like, ooh,
I want to see them.
They're hidden on YouTube.
I love it. Well, I feel like we've covered, quite a bit today. I just love your heart. I love all the things that you've taught me since knowing you and Hamudi. So kind of my last question is, if someone listening to this is wanting to kind of start on a personal development journey, what are some good ways for them to start, or, where would you have them start?
Well, if they're a real estate agent, join EXP. I jokingly say that, but I actually believe that EXP is not just a real estate brokerage. We're actually a personal development company.
Absolutely.
So especially in the terms of, success enterprises and success coaching and all the different things that come into that. But as you know, I'm a huge, huge, huge Tony Robbins fan. So any in-person event that you can go to, I would. If you can't, you can download him on Audible and start listening to him every single day, which, by the way, I didn't mention that. Not as much anymore, but faithfully there for years, I listened to something inspirational every single morning while I was getting ready, doing my makeup, after my meeting of the minds with Hamudi. So I think that's incredibly important. There's so much content that's out there. So much so that we even took our oldest son when he's now 13, but when he was 9, he was the youngest certified John Maxwell coach. And then he also went to Unleash the Power Within, Tony Robbins, and did the Fire Walk with us. And I think it impacted him as well. So I think it really, really can impact anyone. He's just such a powerful being. I don't even know how to explain it. Even today, when I get to see him, I get chills. So
yeah, he's well above his years. Like when you talk to Salim, he's amazing. So he's had good teachers.
I appreciate it. But again, he's listening to people like Tony Robbins and John Maxwell and Darren Hardy and all these others. So I think there's so much great content that, sit down with your family and listen to it together.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And guys, I'll post just some things that I listen to in the comments. And Micah, if you want to do that as well, that would be great. I'm a huge fan of Tony Robbins as well. I love Ed Milet. I'm going to meet him one day. I'm putting it out in the universe.
I have two people I want to meet. Tony, well, I have met him, but really have a sit down conversation.
Yeah.
And Oprah. Oprah's the other one. So yours is Ed Milet.
Well, Darren Hardy, he changed my life. I would love to meet him, and I would love to meet Ed Milet. Ed Milet, I listen to every single day. Every podcast that he has is just so powerful. And Darren, what was his name again? I forgot it. Darren Hardy.
Yeah.
Darren Hardy has a podcast that you can listen to. So I'll link some of those things in the comments. But, I know I can speak for Micah as well. Anybody listening to this, we want to have the best year ever. We want you to excel in anything that you are doing this year.
Absolutely. I think 2023 is the year. I feel it.
It is. There's this like feeling about this year for some reason.
Right.
We're going to do it.
I was wrong about 2020. I thought it was going to be 2020. So I was wrong. Now I got to be right.
2020 just, yeah. It was a little crazy.
Right.
So yeah, I feel really good about this year. And, the purpose of this podcast is to impact as many lives as we possibly can through personal growth. And so, Micah, I really, really appreciate you joining us today. I'm forever grateful for the friendship and the lessons that you and Moody have taught Russ and I. So thank you so much. And I hope you have a great day.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.